What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. And this time we're taking a look at Mortal Kombat Legacy, the YouTube web series directed and written by Kevin Tetrone. Now, Mortal Kombat Legacy pretty much takes a grounded, realistic approach to the Mortal Kombat franchise. How it handles that, I will explain that momentarily when I go through every single episode and give my brief thoughts and opinions on every single episode. So let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. We're kicking it off with episode 1, which focuses heavily on Jax, Sonya, and Kano. Now, as a first episode and a first attempt, I thought this really laid the groundwork for what the series should have been going, for what the series should have been for the first season. I like the grounded, realistic approach that this first episode had. It focuses heavily, like I said, on Jax, Sonya, and Kano. Sonya played by Jared Ryan, Jax played by Michael J. White, and Kano, whose actor's name I can't remember. And you also got Stryker thrown in there for good measure as well. And again, I thought this episode handled all four of these characters fairly well. I like the idea of Jax, Sonya, and Stryker being their own little unit in a police force, though I wasn't really a big fan of them not making any references to Sonya and Jax's military background, because those two are those two have always had a very strong military background. And I don't think the show to me didn't really do a good job at kind of illustrating their military past together. But they did showcase the mutual friendship and partnership between Jax and Sonya. We see just how close they really are. And I like having Stryker being caught in the middle of it as well. It's a nice little dynamic between the three. I like the portrayal of Kano. I think he's enjoyably over the top and funny. I think the fight scene between Jax and Kano was really well choreographed as well. I thought it was good, really well handled, and fine for what it was. Uh, I also like the cinematography as a whole. Like I said, this first episode captured what the series should have been going forward. And there are some episodes that kind of missed that mark and really hit that mark, missed the mark and hit the mark. This one hit the mark fine. And of course, I like the ending of the two-parter where it's referenced that Jack pretty much has his arms all destroyed, and we get to see Kano get the cybernetic eye implanted into his face, which is a nice little juicy little foreshadowing of what's to come. So that stuff was great. Uh, the next episode focuses heavily on Johnny Cage, who in this show is played by Matt Mullins, and for the most part, I kind of like the approach this episode took to Johnny Cage's character, kind of doing like this true Hollywood story type deal on Johnny Cage, where we see his rise as an actor and his falls from grace. And I like the approach. It fits Johnny Cage's character really well. And of course, seeing a cameo from Ed Boon, one of the co-creators of Mortal Kombat, was a nice touch as well. Matt Mullins, who played Johnny Cage, he's okay. He's nothing horrible. He's nothing bad. You can tell he's not a seasoned actor. Though I do think he handled his martial arts scenes fairly well for what they were. And I do like the inclusion of Shang Tsung at the end of this episode, trying to initiate Johnny Cage to join the Mortal Kombat tournament. And I also like Johnny Cage's story about how he tries to get his career on track and then he gets kind of lied to by movie producers, which is a nice little commentary on what happens in real life in Hollywood, where someone can have a good idea, they initially get rejected, but they take that person's idea and they give it to somebody else to do and rebrand it their way. So I kind of like, and that, of course, that's the catalyst for Johnny Cage pretty much going berserk on these producers and kicking their ass. So that stuff was actually really well done. I enjoyed it. Now, Katana and Melina. Now, this is where my problems with the show really start to take light. I don't care for this episode whatsoever. I think it handled a lot of core elements really poorly. I don't like how they handled Baraka in this show at all. Baraka looks absolutely hideous, atrocious, and ugly, and not in a cool, intimidating way. He looks like a Party City monster. Mortal Kombat 2, the video game. The Baraka in that has more credibility than this piece of crap in this show. And Mortal Kombat 2 Baraka, the game, was made for $1.25. This is a relatively bigger budget compared to that, and Baraka looks like shit. He doesn't really do much. He feels like a mindless monster, and it's not Baraka. Baraka actually, he's one of Shao Kahn's most loyal generals, and this show makes reference to it, but we don't see Baraka showcase any type of a personality at all, which I don't like. Another thing I don't like, I do not like how they handled Shao Kahn Shao Kahn is a ruthless leader. They mention that, but I don't get that in the portrayal. I see a Shao Kahn who wants to be a good father and a good husband, who grows to love Sindel and her daughter. That's not Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn's ruthless. He took over. He's a conqueror of realms. He forcibly took someone's wife and made him his own, and then he took that person's kid and raised him as his own, just for his own personal benefit. This Shao Kahn feels like he's trying to be the father of the year, and that's not Shao Kahn to me. I don't like it. No offense to the actor. I hate the portrayal of Shao Kahn. That's a big minus in my book. Not only that, I don't like the anime. I'm not a big fan of anime and that style of animation, and I think that brings this episode down. Do not like the animation style at all. Does nothing for me. The Melina and Katana rivalry is showcased, and that's good. But I think they kind of really went too much into Katana being the adopted daughter of Shao Kahn, without really giving it any proper build-up. The episode pretty much said once Katana finds King Jared, who gets killed by Melina, it's revealed that, hey, I'm your father, Katana. And it pretty much leaves you off with Katana now knows the truth of her origin. Is her life a lie or not? I would have preferred if we would have held off on that just a little bit and not rushed it right away. Was not a big fan of that whatsoever. I hated it. So yeah, episodes 4 and 5 that focuses on Melina Katana, not my favorites. I think those episodes are very, very weak for me, at least. But the next episode is actually pretty cool and pretty creative, and this focuses on Raiden. And this sees Raiden fall from the skies, and then he gets put into a mental institution. And I kind of like this really twisted cuckoo's nest type of deal they give Raiden. Where you have these doctors trying to convince Raiden that he's not the Lord of Thunder, he's delusional, and Raiden's trying to convince them that he is the God of Thunder. All the while, he has this other patient named Blue who believes in him and is trying to help him along the way. I like how it just balanced the greediness that Kevin was trying to go to, and the mysticism of Raiden. I think for the most part, this episode handles it really well, and I just think this is one of the more darker episodes, because anything involving an institution is always darker, because what these hospital folk do to these inmates is just inhumane. And what they do to Raiden is ridiculous and inhumane as well. So yeah, I enjoyed the Raiden episode, but I think my favorite episodes of the bunch is the ones that focus on Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Naturally, those are my two favorite Mortal Kombat characters. But I do like these episodes, and I particularly like Anthony Ian Dale, who plays Scorpion Hanzo Asashi. I thought he brought a really good commanding presence to the character. When we see him as Hanzo, we see he's a loving family man. When we see him as Scorpion, he is a brutal, expert martial artist. And I thought Anthony Ian Dale balanced those two sides of Hanzo's personality expertly and did it fairly, fairly well. And I also like the portrayal of Bihan, Sub-Zero, and I like the fight scene that commences between the two. And of course, at the end of the two-parter, it's revealed, as we all know, that Quan Chi manipulated all these events as he masqueraded as Sub-Zero and killed his family just so that he can have Scorpion Hanzo join his side for the Netherrealm, since we all know Hanzo Asashi is a very skilled warrior and he won't willingly ever join any evil side. So he pretty much had to die and get resurrected, manipulated by Quan Chi. So I like how this two-parter brought that to the forefront as well, which I thought was good. And the actor who played Quan Chi, and Quan Chi's look, whatever. It looks like shit. I don't like it. But story-wise, it works for me. And this is another episode that really handles the grounded realism and the mystical side of Mortal Kombat really, really, really well. Really well, really well, really well. And finally, we get to the final episode, which focuses on Cyrax and Sector. And this is what it is. We know Cyrax has always been apprehensive about the Cyber Initiative, while Sector willingly goes on with it since he's the Grandmaster's son. So we get those sides of the story, and this is just focuses on the automation of both Cyrax and Sector. We see them in their full cybernetic regalia, and they look like PS2 cutscenes. You could have just gotten the costumes from Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It would have looked much, much better. But the fight scene with the Hydro robot, it's entertaining for what it is. And yeah, that's all. So listen, as a whole, I thought Mortal Kombat Legacy Season 1 is solid. It's got some good stuff in it, it's got some not so good stuff in it, but it for a YouTube web series, it's really, really well made. It's got a really good production value to it. The cinematography and all the episodes are really well done. And for the most part, a lot of the actors fit their roles fairly well. But when all said and done, I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I do recommend it if you're a Mortal Kombat fan and if you want to see something a little bit different from the franchise. In a live action form, of course. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.